possible.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to hear about world peace from you. I want to know what a day in the life of world peace looks like for you.
Yeah, world peace. So I approached the concept of world peace from a couple of different angles. I grew up Eastern Orthodox, the Russian Greek
I know exactly.
Orthodox.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, and the so that was my foundation. And then bringing in my study of yoga, I learned with the Yoga Sutras the concepts of the yamas and the niyamas. So satya, which is truth, and svadhyaya, which is self-study. Those are just a couple. There's many, and I'm not going to remember all of them. But truth is part of it, and ultimately, ahisma is non-harming. The concept of non-harming, and it's to me I'm focusing in on the humanity of everybody, and ultimately when it comes down to the bare bones, we're all human no matter what we look like. And that to me is really what a yoga lifestyle and yoga world peace looks like. It looks like reconnecting to my humanity and acknowledging, seeing the humanity in each person out there. And with suffering, because there's also that piece too, is being a conduit of protecting my energy, of course, but also acknowledging the suffering of others and sending my love and my hope for humanity to everybody who's suffering.
Wow, that is powerful. That is really powerful.
Thank you.
I need to just sit with this for a minute because you
Yeah.
just brought up so much. Of all the answers I've gotten, that's up there. What do you think is the biggest problem with the world today that we're in the condition we're in?
Yeah, there's it's funny. I was just reading, I'm reading Sacred something. I could go get it, but it's a Native American book, and this was exactly the concept that was in the chapter I just finished. So what's missing? Why are we here? Capitalism, the hunger for more. Look at, comparing yourselves to the Joneses. I forget what the exact saying is.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And keeping up with the Joneses. There it is.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten how to connect with other people. It's all about us. And I'll speak from a personal experience that when you move across the country, you essentially have to start over. And I've been here 17 years. We've been in California 17 years, and it still feels like I don't have that family true connection that I did back east.
Yeah. I moved from central New York into New York City in 2020. I started coming here. Well, started. Yeah. I moved here in 2020-ish. And then 2021, Halloween Day, 2021, I actually moved here. Here I am now, and I'm not finding a community. I mean, I have pockets of people. They're not connecting. And my partner's the reason for all of this is we went in, we did things, he introduced me to his network of friends, and I thought I found a family. But I'm a psychologist, so my brain went nuts. Let's analyze this. Let's break it down. Let's dissect it. And what I noticed, there were three communities. There was the burner community. There was the hippie community. And then there is, and I'm just going to call this Nicholas. And what I noticed was, and this is what I noticed in his network. These were basically three massive people, each one with their own leader. And I noticed that there was another group over here, another group over here. There was I feel. there's Burning Man, there's Nicholas, there's the hippie group. And I noticed that each one of these groups had one soul leader for all of them. And I noticed that it was pretty much the same group of people moving from person A to person. And on the surface, it looked like a lot of fun. Oh my God, was it? And we had all of New York City at our disposal. So we would go to bars, we would go to rooftops, we would go to events, we would go to elite clubs, we would go to sex parties. It was vast. And not once did anyone bother asking me who I was. No one asked me about my life, my children. About the only thing they ever asked was, so you're living in New York now? And that's it.
Mm.
One of these friends had a baby. We didn't even know. Suddenly, boop, there's a child. Oh, you're pregnant? That is how disconnected they were. I would get angry. After an event, I would get frustrated. My partner and I would have this fight every time. I would go into the events and I would have anxiety going in. And it was a lot of psychological, why am I feeling this way? I thought it was social anxiety. And it wasn't. What it was these were bad people, horrible people. And I felt that they were bad, toxic people, but I couldn't see it. They ended up giving me a roofie back in May and raping me. And then I watched the entire community throw me out because I was a whistleblower. The hippie group did this. Half of the burner group did this. The I Feel group did this. There it was. There was their truth. And when I talked to one of these main leaders about it, he literally did a whole, well, the guy you're accusing of rape is my best friend, and I have an event. I'm concerned about your mental illness, so I think you shouldn't come. Everybody had a mental illness. I would go to an event and there were people who would show up so drunk, so under drugs. And I ended up getting alcohol dumped on me. He ended up falling over. It was just, the guy was downright rapey. And it was a massive step back and realization that these were not good people. And in New York City, there's clubs, there's events, but bottom line is there's zero community. If you want to get in, you have to be personally invited. And everybody has this belief. You require a personal invitation. So if you can find a group in, if you can find that step in, you're set. Now, there's other things that are available to the open public, but that's where you get a lot of really dirty, raunchy people. So if you want to get invited into a good, healthy group of people, you need a personal invitation. This is where I broke off and I did my own work and I did my own. I'm going to do mine, but it's going to be with healthy people. It's going to be positive people. It's going to be. So I am currently building my own Anna's Elite. And I noticed that it's that communication. It's the connection. It's the community. It's spot on to everything you said. So I started analyzing, this is when I started doing my research, is how do you connect? I remember this one time I was at Nicholas's party, and he gets literally 150 people at one of his events once a month. And everyone goes in, hi, how are you? And then it falls flat. Hi, how are you? This one woman, this was back in last December, I was talking with her, and I was trying to push my socialization, my social anxiety. I was doing a whole lot of psychological research then. And I sat down with her and we started talking, and she opened up and we both started crying. And she's like, I go to these events and I'm so sick of the same people, the same shallow. She goes, I'm starved for something. And I had already done the research, so I already had the answers. So I was like, yeah, you're starved for connection. She's like, yes. I'm like, you go here thinking you're going to connect, and all anyone ever wants to talk about is the weather or politics. And you're not actually connecting with anybody. And so you leave feeling lonelier than ever, feeling hopeless because you haven't been able to connect. She just started bawling, and she's like, that's exactly how it feels. I said, yeah, you're not connecting. So then it became a whole, what is connection? I love that you brought up the keeping up with the Joneses. Oh my God, that is competition with your community. Beautiful example. Capitalism and money. Those are the two. Basically, it's a priority. We live in a society where the priority is get money, walk on whoever you need to get it. Yep. Survive. walk all over whoever you need to get it. And that is the attitude and the mindset of the people out there. Except now we're getting to a point where there's some of us, a lot of us going, we're done with this. This
Right.
isn't, I'm done. The priority for us has shifted. We are prioritizing humanity. We are prioritizing community. The problem is we're coming from a place where capitalism and competition and money is prioritized over people. And we don't know how to connect. We have forgotten. Which is why I'm doing these interviews, is asking people, how do you connect? Now, in my research, this is what I have discovered. Story is what connects people. And purpose. A goal, a shared purpose or a shared goal. Story and shared goal. Yes, please write that down. Yes, this is it. It is story and it is shared goals. You have to have so you have your beautiful perspective, and your perspective is Dawn Land. It is Dawn Kingdom. It is all of you. That is your mindset. That is your logic. That is your magical world of beauty and hope. I've got Anna Land over here, and I got my perspective. And it's like we are separate kingdoms. And I'm going, hello, Dawn Land. And you're going, hello, Anna Land. And let's pretend like we're a bunch of children. And let's pretend the year is 1100 AD. And let's pretend that I have my kingdom and I wish to trade and open a trade route with Dawn Land. So if I want to do that, I have to send an ambassador to you. And I have to arrange a peace offering with you. And I have to arrange to request your counsel. So this is what this interview is. I've requested your counsel. So now I've got my awesome wings because I'm a magical being, and I've got my awesome robes and I've got my crown, and I walk over into your realm, Dawn Land, and I say, hello, I bring you my peace offering. I'm going to give you me. Here I am. Come break bread with me. And this is what I love, is it's really this, let's drink together. Let us smoke together, depending upon whatever culture. Native Americans smoked. Other people used alcohol or wine. Oh, Irish. I'm Irish. So we used beer. Yep, the Irish use beer.
Yep.
And song, because we're Irish. We got to have song in there. Music and music and Guinness. That was the thing.
Yeah.
And then we would have food. Food trumps all. And then we would have story. This is the recipe of peace when two kingdoms come together. Alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, food, and story. Tea, coffee, and food and story. And I noticed that when these things came together, I say to you now, I've broken bread, I've relaxed, I have allowed my vulnerability. And this, by the way, is forgiveness. This is forgiveness.
Yeah.
It is forward giving. And forward giving requires a pedestal of vulnerability in exchange for your authority. When you have that combination, it puts everybody's defenses at ease, which is what a peace offering does. So now that we're relaxed and everything's calm, I want to say to you, I have a dream. And my dream is connected community and shared purpose. And my purpose is to bring people together under the same united goal. We want world peace. Everyone's talking about it, but no one's taking action. I have a plan, and I want to share my plan with you, and I want you to join me on my plan. This is how it's done, though, because we can talk about it all day long, but it's the uniting and the goal and the invitation that matters. And that is it right there. It's the shared goal. And the priority being changed from money, capitalism, competition of community, shifting that priority with intent over to a shared dream that we work together to obtain. What has happened is this. You have your Dong land and I have my Ana land, and our perspectives are side by side. We just built a third perspective, our shared dream. And it is the forming of this third perspective that is the connection. Now we want to bring other people in and hook them up to this dream. So now we have this shared dream, world peace. And we basically want to unite everybody into it and invite other people into it. And the more people who plug into this, basically, the more community you have. So the community exists actually inside the third shared perspective. That is what we are looking at building. That is how you do it. So this is what I'm doing.
Yay.
And I love your idea. And really, it's the going back to, I mean, old. This concept of food, drink, smoke story is such, and the story is I am presenting my perspective, and then you present your perspective, and then you have to create a third perspective of a dream and a goal. And that's it precisely. So, how are you?
Oh, I'm okay. This week has been tough. My 9 to 5 is driving me nuts. I actually took on a new role. I'm now a team leader, so I'm going to be offloading the technical reviews that I've been doing for years to our new senior specialists. So I've been training them, and we just have a lot going on with shifting priorities and everything's I mean, it's government, so I mean,
exactly.
It's also the culture of the agency. We're going through a consolidation, so there's a lot of growing pains with, well, how is this going to look in 4 months?
So you have 2 jobs. You have your yoga, and then you've got your muggle
job. 9 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love. Some people call it normie. Other people, I call it muggle.
Yeah, and I like muggle.
I love muggle. I feel like muggle is gentle. Normie sounds derogative, in my opinion. I don't like using the word normie. And I find the people who use the word normie never read Harry Potter. That's the only people who say normies are people who have not been Harry Potter literate. So I love saying the muggle, and I'm completely out of the muggle world. I'm not part of it. I also call it Wonderland, in reference to Alice's Wonderland. And I'm now through the looking glass, so I live in Neverland now. I see in my world, I see, okay, here's Peter Pan and here's Alice in Wonderland, and Alice in Wonderland is the muggle world, and now I'm over in Neverland with Peter Pan, and I'm like, yes, I took over Captain Hook's ship and I'm a mermaid.
Yes.
that is
and I'm moving in that direction. I'm going to retire probably in about 4 or 5 years from my government job and my muggle job, and I know there's an end in sight with this other job. I mean, there's always going to be challenges, there's always going to be issues, but I think once I can shift the bulk of what I'm doing now to the senior specialist, that will allow me to have more flexibility to do more of the staff development, the training, the revisions, the behind the scenes admin kind of stuff that I like to do. Of course, support my boss and give trainings when I need to, and all of that kind of stuff. But
the other question I wanted to ask you is, how did you find the energy? What was your moment where you went, there is something mystical and magical going on here, and it's real? What was that moment for you?
I think it's been evolving. I've been practicing yoga for 19 years, and I would say that I really got serious, and I knew there was magic probably I think I've always known there's magic in yoga, and there's always been magic in the world, because I've always kind of felt that I have that real old soul. And I've always had my nose in books, and I would do what I now know is astral projection and things like that. And I think the magic from my adult life probably came during, it started, the cracks started opening during my teacher training in 2018, and then really cracked open with COVID and being in this online community and connecting with people of who are also doing similar work, in terms of just shedding the old and breaking down those old stories and
Yeah.
saying enough is enough. I'm done with the rat race,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just really almost reinventing themselves.
Yeah.
So it's been an evolution, and I think really in the last year, maybe even the last 6 months, 7 months, it like just completely changed
Yeah.
my home. Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny because when I first started, it was I played with the magic when I was 4. Like I remember going out dancing in moonlight. I was a chakra stone, and I still need the moonlight. The moonlight, oh my God, it feels so good to me. It's like it's a chakra. It's like, oh thank God, just cleanse me. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was just child make-believe and that I was just artistic and very different. And then it got to a point where I study physics, and I'm sitting here going through all my studies, and I'm going, when I was studying philosophy, psychology, and then physics, I reached this point where I went, okay, philosophy, Socrates, Plato, Plato. What's Christ doing over here? Plato, psychology, why is yoga over here? Study. And then I got to physics, and I was like, all right, physics. And then it blew open, and I went, this is chakra energy.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my biggest obstacle. I call this religious contamination.
Mm.
There's no other word for it. It is religious contamination. It is when you have physics, when you have, I like to call it the ethereal plane, when you have magic, and you've got all these people throughout all of time trying to interpret it without
Mm-hmm.
modern day science, without our physicists in Switzerland or Sweden. I cannot remember where CERN is right now. Without all of our advanced technology and our understanding of the world, without Einstein. These are people who for thousands of years have done their best without the education. And they pieced together a bunch of religions to try and explain what we are also still trying to explain, except our science is more advanced than theirs was. So now you've got things like the Bible, the Akashic records, you've got all of these religious sources, the Ramayana. And I am a firm believer that they are basically the opinions of second perspective society. We are in fourth perspective society, so you know. So I'm looking at it going, okay, this is a second perspective society explaining what we are trying to explain in the fourth perspective society. Only, and there's people who parrot and repeat. So they're parroting this throughout the centuries. And at the end of the day, there is still the physics, the ethereal, and the magic that's sitting here. And it hasn't changed. It's still sitting here. I can study the religious concepts, or I can study the actual thing. We all can study the actual thing. So I began a study of what is this thing. And like the physicist at CERN, I'm poking at it. I'm looking where philosophy, psychology, sociology are all adding up, and physics is now coming in, and I'm going, holy shit, magic is real. And then I've got all these people repeating the ideas of somebody from 2,000 years ago. And it's like, look, you are repeating a 2,000-year-old idea. It's not an original thought. It was their original thought 2,000 years ago. So Christ comes to me, he does, in his book, and he says, Anna, this is what I think this is. Now, this is interesting. When I was studying psychology, philosophy, sociology, it was identical to Christ's, identical. Like, and it wasn't like based off of Christ. This is Plato's and Socrates stuff. And I'm just following the logic line, and there's Christ, and I'm going, he knows what I know. Christ knows what I know. And I'm looking at it going, I'm coming to the same conclusions that Christ is coming to. Da Vinci has the same thought. Victor Hugo has the same stuff. So I'm all of the great books, all of these guys also figured it out. And I'm going, this is the God code. And it's basically we have this God code And all the God code is the learning code. It's how the human brain learns at really fast rates. That's all it is. And if you're a God, learning unlocks your God power. So it's not like, oh, we're man, we're humans, we're mortal, but if you eat this fruit, you'll be like a God. No, it's called learning. You are a God. You forgot that you are a God. And when you learn this power, when you learn how to learn, you'll unlock this part of your brain, and then you will be your true self. Your true self just happens to be a God. So I believe, for me, I believe that man is very much just a baby God, and that we're actually really just gods. And my favorite part of all of this conclusion that I realized was, in my world, in my Annaland, I am God, but only in Annaland. In your realm, you are God of Dawnland. And it's this, yes, I am a God, and I'm owning it, and I'm claiming my power, but I also have to be very mindful of your power, and that you are also a God in your realm, and that you are my peer. Oh, I love this part so much. So that to me is what the energy is. And when we sit down and we break bread, when we convene about community and we shift the priority from let's abuse community and use it to our advantage to gang ahead, versus let's start building actual community and bridging that gap and forming a new dream together, it's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different life.
Yep. Yeah, and I love what you said, that like I got goosebumps when you were talking about education unlocking the God inside of us, because you said the word, it's education. And right now there's it, and I feel it where I live. There's this fear or unwillingness, unopenness to learning, and it's so interesting, and I know for a fact it's a dichotomy of East Coast versus West Coast education, because my daughter's at Hofstra and she grew up here. She was 2 when we moved here, so she spent her whole life here, that child. And she said the same thing. She's like, it's so different. And she just feels like people are just more open and more interested in learning, where I don't necessarily find that that's the case here. People aren't open to looking at other cultures, or open, they're talking, the school boards are talking about book banning here in my county where I'm at. Yeah, I'm in a very red county. Yeah.
Red is third perspective.
Yeah.
Blue is fourth perspective. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is your, so I first noticed in 1998, 1997, I started to notice something was up with our education system. Thomas Sowell. Do you know who he was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
A little bit about him.
Yeah. So I did a whole lot of research on Thomas Sowell. I read a lot of his material, and he provides substantial documentation to prove we are getting dumber. In fact, it's called Dumbing Down in America. That was the name of his book. Now, in the 1960s, there was some scientists or a business wanted to know, they wanted to hire more geniuses. So they wanted a test to select how to sort geniuses. So scientists were hired and put together this how to identify a genius quiz. They put this on a bunch of 5-year-olds, and 98% of the population, according to their test, was a potential genius. They ran this test over, doing it again for 10-year-olds, and then 15-year-olds, and then 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds. At 20 years old, that statistic was down to 2%. And they proved that the reason why we went from 98% genius at 5 down to 2% genius at 20, our school system.
Interesting.
There's more. What determines a genius is the following: the ability to problem solve while using your imagination. That is it. A genius is a person's ability to take logical problem solving and combine it with your imagination. Now, art was cut out in the 1990s. It was
Yep.
later cut again in 2000 and 2000 to 2010.
Right.
Now, this was the big scale that tipped in my books. In my world, while they were cutting the book, while they were cutting the art departments, Mr. Holland's Opus was a movie that was produced to
Right.
cry out against this. At the end of the
Yep.
movie, Mr. Holland says, you take away the art department, the music, and all of the creativity, and they will have nothing left to read or write about. He was wrong. You take away the art department, and you take away the curiosity.
Yep.
You take away questions. What you have is obedience. You have absolute mindlessness. And I noticed when I was looking at the time I was looking at schools to go to and universities, and I noticed that Plato did the opposite. In the University of Alexandria, Plato had more art in his curriculum than science. He had 9 art departments and only 5 science departments. And I went, why would Plato prioritize art and creativity and storytelling up and above science? Meanwhile, I asked that question in 1995, the same year that Mr. Holland's Opus was being written and produced, while they were cutting the art department. So I had this Plato with the Alexandria, the epicenter of global education, and modern government. Which one was right? After looking at the catastrophe of the 1990s with our modern government, this was not hard to figure out. And I'm going, Plato is producing teachers like Socrates, Aristotle, Alexander the Great, and Christ. And you guys are cutting the art department. And Clinton is in office talking about semen stains on a dress. I think that Plato is smarter than our modern government. So if Plato prioritizes art while you guys are cutting it, I think Plato is smarter than you guys. So I'm going to follow Plato. So I studied Plato and I followed his curriculum. And sure enough, we're watching this study was done in the 60s, where we're watching people get stupider. Thomas Sowell produces his stuff with Dumbing Down America going, we're getting dumber. And here we are now in a society where everybody is quiet, mindless, and obedient. And this is my favorite part of all of this. The only ones who are upset are the artists.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
You have artists and you have the conformists. And I'm looking at this going,
wow.
The artists found a way around it. The artists are literally the geniuses still. And it's this massive education gap. And I'm noticing the red, the blue, they follow the education system where there's no art. They can't think, they can't question. They are mindless monkeys. So we're just that's the society of mindless monkeys. Oh, I love this. I'm going to use this from now on. The society of mindless monkeys. The society of mindless monkeys conform, they are obedient, and they are not awake. They are clueless. Now, the artists are thinking, they're waking up, and they're noticing shit. And my goal in life, my mission is to basically educate artists about this societal thing that I've noticed, and then summon them and say, come join me. Let's co-create our own society. And bottom line, that's it. It's, look, there's a society of mindless monkeys, and then there's us. And they throw us away. They abuse us, beat us, and then they cast us away. And we're all like wandering the no man's land of society. And all of this, when I broke it all down, comes to one thing. This is a mindset. Society and government is just a mindset. And I'm going, we're all just arguing over what is the right mindset. And I realized if I have to choose between a mindset of being a mindless monkey or being an artist and free, why is this a competition? This is not hard. Like, if it's just a mindset, well, then I'm going to make it a good one. So, and that's where the shared perspective and this new community and this new mindset is coming in, where it's just, we're coming together and we're just going in this direction with it. And while I'm creating this new society and putting it together for my people and artists, I want to know, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? What should we not do? What should we leave in monkey land and what should we take with us? I'm huge on a hybrid, on a let's go with a middle ground. What is worth keeping in that nightmare and what is worth throwing away, saying, you know what, you are not going to come with us.
Yeah, I mean, definitely throwing away this whole concept of capitalism.
Yeah.
You know, coming back to community. I mean, that's what people are craving. They're craving. I mean, people talk about being kind to others and wanting that family time around the table. Yet that part is important, but leave all the division,
Yeah.
the I'm different than
Yeah.
because of the color of your skin or your religion
The
or
prejudice. Yeah. The
exactly.
prejudice.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I was actually, that was going to be my next word. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right.
So
That's a really good point. Yeah. So, and I love that you brought up the family time. I want to break that down for you. And then I have a huge problem with the prejudice against children. The way we handle and the way we treat our children is disgusting. I am, there are two massive campaigns that I am really pushing forward. And the first one is we need to change the way we treat our children. The second one is, oh, my brain just unlocked and I feel all the chemical juice. So just give me a minute. It's very disorienting when that happens. The stigma of mental health.
yes.
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other one. Those are the two.
Disabilities, you know, disabilities in general. I mean,
Agreed. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for
yeah,
bringing that into this. That needs to be part of this.
absolutely. I mean, it comes back to what I was saying earlier about recognizing the humanity and really putting on blinders of what somebody looks like or, you know, how they're different from you. Focus some more on what we have in common, which is ultimately our humanity.
Our pain.
And our humanness.
Agreed. 100%. Absolutely. Family time. I want to break that down. The dinner table. So the dinner table looks like this. The Mindless Monkey Society says, what does this look like? And they have a script and they put the script out. Dinner table, children around it, nuclear family, everyone's white.
Yep.
And then everyone just kind of repeats that. The problem is it's very exclusive. So there's a lot of people who don't understand it. And here's the thing, it's mindless. They don't know what they're doing. What they are doing is breaking bread. Watch this. They are breaking bread and they are sharing story. It's no different than campfire communities. It's that exactly. It's the same thing.
Right.
But mindless monkeys think, oh, I have to prepare a dinner and I have to have it on the table at 6 o'clock every night and I have to have all my family come around. Come on, kids. And the kids are going, I don't want to do this. They've missed the point. So now you've got abusive parents going, we have to be the perfect family. This is a nuclear family. Now you sit at the table. I remember my father pinning my brother to the floor, beating him with a board because my brother wouldn't sit at the table. Sitting at the table meant that my father would go around the table and tell each and every one of us how horrible human beings we were.
Wow.
I was selfish and self-centered. That was my assignment. And it was 15 minutes every day, every time I ate, so that I associated food with me being selfish. My brother developed an eating disorder. Oh my God, it was horrible. And then, you get the point.
Yeah.
And that's mindless monkey. And that's normal. A lot of people do that. That's your mindless monkeys. That's when the mindless monkey says, come on, the government says we've got to eat at the table like a family. Eat at the table like a family. So they missed the point. They really missed the point on this one. And it's my biggest issue with all of this is we were cast away and rejected and labeled as black sheep. And we're wandering this no man's land of abandonment, and I'm uniting them. That is my mission. Why are we wandering alone? Why?
Right.
And I remember it was the day I came up with Authenticity City. There's the physical realm where I'm getting up every day, I'm doing my YouTube, I'm doing my podcast, I'm thinking, I'm doing my work, I'm cleaning the house, I'm thinking. And then in my mind, I feel isolated. I imagine me wandering around going, I don't belong anywhere. I don't have a home. I don't have a community. So in my mind, I see this barren wasteland of, well, there's the society and I belong nowhere. And this one day I was crying. I was having a really difficult day. And I was looking down at the ground in my proverbial mind. I was looking at the proverbial ground in my mind. And I thought, I have been in this place for 40 years. The last time I felt home, I was 4 years old.
Wow.
I remember the day my home broke. And I have been wandering in no man's land ever since. And I picked up the proverbial ground and I said, and I looked around and I saw Dawnland over there. I saw people over there. Everyone's doing the same thing. And I went, why can't we just build here? So I took my proverbial flag, crammed it into the proverbial ground and said, I hereby declare this is Authenticity City. And I'm like, come over here to me. We're going to build a community. They don't want us. Let's build a community of rejects. and that's it.
Misfits, yeah.
Let's create a community of misfits. And I did. I felt home. It was the first time in 40 years I felt home. It was amazing. It was like my days of wandering the wilderness after 40 years is over. It was immediate. And it was life-changing. It was absolutely like the moment that I realized this is what needs to happen, is we need to build this thing. So then it became how do you build it? What's required? What should we put into this? What should we not do again? So it's this idea of, the family time, that's the community, that's the breaking bread, that's the food. And I love the idea of everyone has a kingdom and everyone is a god in their kingdom. And you can be whatever you want. I'll ask people, I've asked people, I would love to do an interview with you. And people respond with, well, I'm an alien. That's okay. That's all right. Aliens are welcome. And I love that. These are the people in my life, by the way. These are the people in my life. I am an alien. Great. I'm a goddess. Let's meet up.
Hey,
Whatever you are, I get it. Whatever you are. I am also a firm believer that everyone has some sort of magical thing on their body. I have wings. I have 12-foot long wings that just span out.
Yes.
So what are yours? I would love to know what your magical thing is that's protruding from your body.
I've never thought about it. I'd have to say like a crown and maybe like a big unicorn horn.
Love that.
Yeah.
What color is your horn? Ooh.
Gold.
I love this.
Yes.
Oh my God. See, and I see it now. As soon as you said it, I see it.
And
yes,
I can feel it.
This. And you can feel it. Wow.
Yeah.
For me, I have the wings, and it's like,
I mean, I like the wings too, but I think the
it's not
horn
you.
will be, it's not me.
Yeah, you have the horn. That's lovely.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's what I want to do, is I want to sit down and have these conversations. Like, show me who you are. Like, really, I want to know your magical being. Who am I talking to? So I love this. I love that, your horn. I did a meditation on one of my videos where it's like, imagine yourself, whatever you are, and just, what is your magic aura? What does it turn into? What is it? It's like your Patronus. It is exactly what it's like. It's like you have a magical Patronus, but it's like what shape does your aura take on?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And oh my God, I love it. So the crown goes around. So you have the crown and then you've got the horn.
The crown and then the horn coming out of the crown.
What does the crown look like?
It's it's got the U and then the point and then the U and the point, and it's all kinds of gemstones
Oh, wow.
all
Yeah.
over it. Kind of like the old Burger King crowns,
Oh, yeah.
the ones
Yeah.
back from the
Oh,
eight,
I
70s and
love it.
80s.
Yes. And you know, those were based, yeah. So that's right there with, I love it. Yes. And that's just it. And I remember this was the moment in my research. It was when I started therapy in 2015. They told me that my imagination was dissociation and that I needed to get rid of it.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
did.
Interesting.
So I did. And I ended
Wow.
up with more mental shit. So
Wow.
I had this, so it was me versus my imagination.
Wow.
And I lived like that for about 5 years. And I could not write anything since. I lost my ability to write. I lost
Mm-hmm.
my ability to
Mm-hmm.
compose music. I lost my ability to
Yep.
do anything that was artistic. So
Yep.
in 2023, in May of 2023, I received my first clean bill of health. I have no mental illness. In 2015, they told me I was incurable and I had 5 incurable mental illnesses. And here I was, May of 2023, clean bill of health. My imagination was still here. And
Mm,
I went, what's my imagination doing here? That was part of the mental illness.
mm,
Society, monkey land, had me convinced that my imagination was part of mental disorder and that when you
mm.
are cured, you're going to be highly logical like Spock.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm sitting here going, if my
Wow.
imagination is here, my question is, what is imagination for?
Right. Yep.
And it was never discussed in psychology. It's not
Wow.
addressed in psychology. Oh, it's addressed in philosophy. I say that this is a thing I say is philosophy is where they keep the good psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
started to really
Yeah.
examine what imagination is. And I realized I've got my ethereal plane over here, my imagination land, and I've got the real world. That's when I
Right.
realized that there is concrete thinking and abstract thinking.
Right.
That's when I realized that, and this is your spectrum thinking, this is your polarized thinking, black and white from trauma. You have your
Mm,
extreme concrete thinkers, monkey land, and imagination land. And I
right.
realized, as is the way with all polarized thinking, there is a harmony between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And when you realize that there is a harmony that exists in the neutral zone, we all need to get our asses to the neutral zone.
Right.
And in order to do that, you need to take the corporeal material plane and your imagination world and bring them together. And that's what we're not doing. Everyone
Right.
is told by monkey land to throw away the imagination. And I'm going,
Right.
polarized thinking, what are you doing? That's prejudice. If you are an extreme on either side, you are prejudice. The only place where harmonious non-prejudice exists is in a hybrid of all. I like that. I'm going to write that
Exactly.
down. Hybrid of
Yep.
all.
Hybrid of all. I love that.
I am the queen of hybrid of all. And that's it. That's it. That is it right there. And
Yep.
that's where I am building Authenticity City. That's where I'm building my imagination lab. That's where I'm pulling everyone going, all right, guys, enough with the polarized thinking, enough with prejudice. Meet me in harmony land. I call it
Yes.
hybrid for all.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it,
Love
it's
it.
it's really we need to start accepting this imagination magical side and
Right.
validating it. And I noticed that when you
Mm.
have a bunch of artists who thrive off of imagination land and then they're being abused for imagination land, you are killing the artist. Meanwhile, I've got scientific documentation that proves in 1960s a genius is somebody who is imaginative.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I'm starting to put science together with all of this going, yeah. So I have this massive, I need my imagination land. And I have my own mythology. I encourage everyone to have their own mythology because it's healthy.
Right.
And this is where you've got your gorgeous unicorn and and then in philosophy, we talk about what truth is and we talk about what reality is. And then there's what monkey land. likes to talk about what they think truth and reality is. And that's the problem. And
Right.
this is something I love to tell people. When you look up the word truth or reality, every subject, law, science, physics, chemistry, philosophy, art, astrology, astronomy, all say the same thing. It's subjective. The only ones who are insisting that truth and reality is not subjective are religious people. And I'm going,
That's interesting. Yeah.
uh-huh. And I'm going, and by the way, they're the ones who are causing all the wars because they
Right.
got to be right. So I'm looking at it going,
Exactly.
so the only one who is insistent that truth is fact are religious people, because everybody else, including the scientists, when I had a neuroscientist say to me, truth is subjective, reality is subjective, truth does not exist. That's what we believe in philosophy. So who's insisting that truth is fact? The Christians or the Muslims or the Jews or the Hindu. So I'm going, why are we listening to kings of the, so I'm going to give them monkey land. They can have monkey land. And we're going to have authenticity city.
I love it.
And that's it. That's authenticity city.
Awesome. I have to go because I have another meeting. So I've had, this has been incredible. We need to do this more often.
Yes, we do.
Because I just feel so fed.
I love it. Yes,
and purpose.
Yes.
So yes.
Yeah, I will schedule you again so that we'll meet up in a couple. We'll talk 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you need. And yeah, I call this soul food. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right, see you later. Bye.
Bye.